calligraphy master observed his student who was struggling with a stroke he could not master. "Master," said the young man, exasperated, "should this stroke be firm or soft? Should I press or barely touch?" The master took the brush and with a single gesture traced a line of perfect beauty. "You see," he said, smiling, "neither firm nor soft, neither pressed nor barely touched. The right stroke is born when strength and gentleness dance together in the same breath." This parable captures the essence of an ancient wisdom that resonates with particular acuity in our age of extreme imbalances. We live in a world of overwork and exhaustion, of exacerbated emotions and polarized judgments, where everything seems to push us toward extremes. Faced with stress, we oscillate between flight and aggression. Confronted with difficulties, we swing between forced optimism and destructive pessimism. In our relationships, we hesitate between excessive compliance and inflexible harshness. This instability reveals a fundamental misunderstanding. We seek peace in the suppression of opposites, in the elimination of what disturbs us, in fleeing toward one side of existence rather than in harmonizing all its dimensions. We dream of a serenity that would know neither conflict nor tension, of a happiness that would ignore suffering, of a wisdom that would never have to traverse ignorance. But what if true peace were not found in this impossible flight toward a single pole? What if it were born instead from a dynamic harmony between the opposing forces that constitute and surround us? This intuition, which Taoism expresses through the complementarity of yin and yang, invites us to a silent revolution in our way of inhabiting existence. Instead of fighting our contradictions, learning to dance with them. This dance of opposites is not a passive resignation to our ambivalences, but the subtle art of finding in each situation the point of balance that allows all our facets to express themselves harmoniously. It teaches us that true strength can ally itself with true gentleness, that authentic firmness does not exclude flexibility, that clear lucidity can cohabit with tender compassion. Our exploration will lead us through 3 dimensions of this wisdom of balance. First, understanding this harmony as a living movement rather than a fixed state. Then learning to embody it in our way of being and acting. Finally, cultivating this art as a daily practice that progressively transforms our relationship with ourselves and the world. In the whirlwind of our modern lives, rediscovering this mobile center that allows us to navigate with grace between all extremes becomes more than a spiritual aspiration. It is a vital necessity for those who want to fully inhabit their human condition without losing themselves in its apparent contradictions. Authentic understanding of harmony begins by abandoning the illusion that it would be a state of immobile perfection, a sort of permanent nirvana where nothing moves or disturbs. This static vision of balance resembles that of a tightrope walker who believed it would suffice to find the right position once to never waver again. In reality, the tightrope walker's balance is born from constant micro-adjustments, from a perpetual dance with gravity and movement. True harmony resembles rather a regulating movement, a living pulsation that maintains cohesion without ever fixing form. Let us observe the sea. Its waves rise and fall in an eternal rhythm, never exactly identical yet perfectly ordered. This oceanic breathing reveals the nature of authentic balance, not the absence of movement, but the presence of a just rhythm. This pulsation is found everywhere in nature and within ourselves. Our heart beats according to an alternation of contraction and dilation. Our lungs swell and empty in an uninterrupted cycle. Our thoughts arise and subside like waves of the mind. Even our walking proceeds from this principle. We constantly lose balance to find it again immediately, transforming this permanent instability into fluid movement. Ancient Taoism expressed this truth through the symbol of yin and yang, often misunderstood in the West as an opposition between masculine and feminine or between good and evil. In reality, these two forces represent much more subtle universal tendencies: the tendency toward withdrawal and that toward expansion, the receptive quality and the active quality, movement toward the interior and movement toward the exterior. In our breathing, inspiration corresponds to yang, an active movement that brings energy in, while expiration evokes yin, a letting go that releases and purifies. Neither of these movements is superior to the other, and their alternation creates the living breath that keeps us alive. Trying to only inspire permanently or only expire infinitely would be equally fatal. This wisdom applies to all domains of existence. In our relationship with work, we need both moments of intense effort, yang, and periods of recovery, yin. In our relationships, we must know how to both assert ourselves with clarity, yang, and listen with receptivity, yin. Faced with difficulties, sometimes the situation calls for determined firmness, yang, sometimes for welcoming patience, yin. Wisdom does not consist in definitively choosing one side, which would be to mutilate ourselves of a part of our nature, but in developing the sensitivity that allows us to feel the right rhythm between the two. This sensitivity resembles that of the musician who feels when to accelerate the tempo and when to slow it down, when to raise the intensity and when to let it fall. It is not learned through fixed rules, but through refined listening to the movement of life. A Zen tale tells the story of a martial arts master who was famous for his ability to defeat opponents much stronger than himself. One day, a student asked him his secret. The master replied, "I never resist and I never yield. When the opponent pushes, I become water that flows. When he retreats, I become mountain that advances. My strength is born from my ability to dance with his." This story perfectly illustrates what it means to embody the harmony of opposites. It involves neither softness nor rigidity, but an intelligent flexibility that knows how to respond appropriately to each situation. This capacity radically transforms our way of approaching daily challenges. Let us take the example of leadership, whether in our family, our work, or our community. Many of us oscillate between two extremes: authoritarianism that imposes its will without listening, or compliance that avoids all conflict at the price of effectiveness. The harmony of yin and yang teaches us a third way: benevolent firmness that knows how to say no with compassion and yes with discernment. This benevolent firmness manifests through our ability to maintain our essential values, yang aspect, while remaining open to others' perspectives, yin aspect. It allows us to be demanding of ourselves and others without becoming harsh, understanding without becoming permissive. This quality is born from understanding that true authority is not imposed by force, but radiates naturally from a balanced being. In our intimate relationships, This harmony translates into our ability to be authentically ourselves, yang, while adapting with love to the other's needs, yin. Too much yang in the relationship produces egocentrism and insensitivity. Too much yin generates unhealthy fusion and loss of identity. Balance allows an intimacy where each remains whole while truly opening to the other. This dance of opposites is particularly observed in our way of managing difficult emotions. Faced with anger, for example, we often have the reflex to either explode it, excessive yang, or repress it, excessive yin. Harmony teaches us a more subtle approach, fully recognizing and welcoming the emotion, yin, while consciously choosing our response, yang. This approach transforms emotion into creative energy rather than destructive force. A Taoist master taught, anger is like fire. If you ignore it, it smolders and can explode. If you feed it without discernment, it burns everything. But if you welcome it with wisdom, it can warm your house and cook your food. This metaphor reveals how balance transforms even our most difficult energies into allies of our development. This transformation extends to our relationship with stress and challenges. Instead of passively suffering difficulties, excessive yin, or frantically fighting against them, excessive yang, we learn to welcome them as occasions for growth while acting with discernment to resolve them. This balanced approach makes us more resilient and effective. Patience itself reveals this harmony of opposites. True patience is not passive. That would be resignation. It combines serene acceptance of what cannot be changed now, yin, with tranquil determination to act when the moment is right, yang. This active patience saves us from both sterile agitation and paralyzing inertia. In the professional realm, this harmony manifests through our ability to be ambitious without being aggressive, creative without being chaotic, methodical without being rigid. The balance of yin and yang allows us to navigate with grace through the sometimes contradictory demands of the modern world, being effective while remaining human, competitive while staying cooperative, innovative while respecting valid traditions. This wisdom of balance also transforms our relationship with authority and hierarchy. Instead of oscillating between systematic rebellion and blind submission, we develop the ability to respect legitimate authority, yin, while keeping our critical spirit and autonomy of thought, yang. This relational maturity allows us to collaborate effectively without losing our integrity. A Taoist tale tells of a tree that grew on the edge of a cliff battered by winds. All the other trees in the region had either broken by resisting too rigidly or been uprooted by bending too softly. Only this tree had survived because it had learned to bend just enough to let the storm pass while keeping its roots firmly anchored. This parable illustrates the delicate art of adaptation without compromise. This capacity for intelligent adaptation frees us from the exhausting fatigue of those who must constantly choose between extremes. Instead of endlessly asking ourselves, should I be firm or gentle? Should I speak or remain silent? Should I act or wait? We develop the intuition that naturally guides us toward the right response for each unique moment. This intuition of balance is not acquired through intellectual analysis, but through attentive practice and presence to the moment. It resembles learning to ride a bicycle, impossible to explain completely in words. It develops through repeated experience and fine attention to necessary adjustments. Cultivating this harmony of opposites requires developing what the ancients called tranquil discipline, not an external constraint that forces us into a mold, but a benevolent vigilance that keeps us aware of our tendencies and helps us adjust our balance as we go. This discipline resembles that of the gardener who observes his plants daily to give them exactly what they need. Nourishing inner harmony quickly reveals that it is never definitively acquired. Unlike a diploma obtained once and for all, balance resembles rather physical fitness. It requires regular maintenance and constantly adapts to the changing circumstances of our life. This dynamic nature of harmony may initially disappoint those who hope for a permanent state of peace, but it actually reveals its profound beauty. It keeps us alive, alert, in constant relationship with the movement of existence. This continuous practice begins by developing our sensitivity to the signals constantly sent by our body, our emotions, and our environment. Just as the experienced navigator feels in the wind and waves the meteorological changes to come, we can learn to perceive nascent imbalances before they become problematic. Our body, this often neglected sage, offers us a precious barometer of our state of balance. Persistent tension in the shoulders can signal an excess of yang. Too much effort, not enough receptivity. Chronic fatigue without evident physical cause can reveal an excess of yin. Too much passivity, not enough energetic engagement. Learning to listen to these subtle signals allows us to adjust our rhythm before imbalance settles in durably. This bodily listening teaches us the delicate art of dosing our energies. Sometimes our system needs stimulation, physical exercise, new challenges, social activities. Sometimes it demands rest instead. Restorative solitude, silent contemplation, gentle activities. Wisdom consists in responding to real need rather than our automatic habits or external pressures. A Zen master taught, your body is like a musical instrument. If the strings are too tight, they break. If they are too loose, they give no sound. The art consists in finding the right tension that allows the most beautiful music. This metaphor applies perfectly to our daily energetic balance. This attention to our natural rhythms transforms our relationship with time and productivity. Instead of imposing a uniform rhythm dictated by external demands, we learn to recognize our personal cycles, the moments when our creative energy is at maximum, those when our capacity for listening and reflection is optimal, the periods that call for action, and those that require integration. This recognition of our rhythms frees us from the guilt of those who believe they must be constantly productive according to external standards. It teaches us that times of rest, of reverie, of apparent slowness are as necessary to our balance as moments of intense activity. This broader vision of effectiveness paradoxically makes us more performant in the long term. In our relationships, nourishing harmony means developing our ability to feel the needs of the moment rather than mechanically applying the same responses. Sometimes our loved one needs our silent listening, sometimes our enlightened advice, sometimes our joyful presence, sometimes our respectful space. This relational sensitivity transforms our interactions into a creative dance rather than automatic repetitions. This fine attention to relational needs also teaches us the delicate art of giving and receiving. Many of us have developed chronic imbalances. Either we constantly give without knowing how to receive, excessive yang in giving, or we receive without ever giving in return, excessive yin in receiving. Balance teaches us that giving and receiving are two faces of the same movement of love. A Taoist sage compared balanced relationships to breathing. In a healthy relationship, there is a time to give, like expiration, that offers our breath to the world, and a time to receive, like inspiration that welcomes life into us. Those who only expire exhaust themselves. Those who only inspire suffocate. Beauty is born from natural alternation. This wisdom of alternation also transforms our relationship with difficult emotions. Instead of systematically fighting them, excessive yang, or indulging in them, excessive yin, we learn to welcome them as temporary visitors who have something to teach us. This approach transforms even our most painful emotions into allies of our development. Faced with sadness, for example, balance teaches us to let it fully traverse us, yin, while maintaining a broader perspective that prevents us from completely identifying with it, yang. This ability to feel without being overwhelmed allows us to extract lessons from our trials without letting ourselves be destroyed by them. Similarly, faced with intense joy, harmony teaches us to fully savor it, yin, without attaching to it possessively, yang. This ability to enjoy without clinging allows us to live happy moments with more intensity while remaining equanimous when they pass. This emotional practice progressively reveals that our emotions, even the most difficult ones, are not our enemies, but precious information about our state of balance. Anger can signal that an important boundary has been crossed. Fear can alert us to real danger or excessive attachment. Sadness can invite us to let go of what is no longer alive in us. This listening transforms our emotions into guides for finer balance. In our relationship with the external world, nourishing harmony teaches us the subtle art of detached engagement. Instead of oscillating between cynical indifference that protects itself by cutting off from the world and compulsive activism that exhausts itself. Wanting to change everything, we develop the ability to engage fully while remaining free internally. This freedom in engagement allows us to act effectively without identifying with our successes or failures. It frees us from performance anxiety that often parasites our best-intentioned actions. When we act from this balance, our actions carry a particular quality. They are both determined and flexible, passionate and serene. A Taoist master taught, act as if everything depended on you, while knowing that nothing depends on you. This apparent contradiction reveals the secret of right action. It engages all our capacities without chaining us to the result. This paradoxical wisdom frees us from the paralysis of perfectionism, while protecting us from the negligence of indifference. This balanced approach transforms our relationship with success and failure. Instead of identifying with our successes, excessive yang, or crushing ourselves under our failures, excessive yin, we learn to see both as natural phases of a larger process. This perspective makes us more resilient and authentic. Daily practice of balance progressively reveals its most liberating dimension. It teaches us that we are neither our moods nor our circumstances, but the conscious capacity to navigate with grace between all states and all situations. This discovery radically transforms our sense of identity and our relationship with security. Instead of seeking security in controlling our external circumstances, a strategy always doomed to failure in an impermanent world, we develop a deeper security, that which is born from our confidence in our balancing capacity. This confidence no longer depends on external conditions, but on our interior competence to dance with everything life proposes to us. This transformation makes us paradoxically lighter and more lucid. Lighter because we no longer carry the exhausting weight of our resistances to difficult aspects of existence. Lucid because we no longer waste our mental energy maintaining illusions about what life should be. This clarity allows us to see situations as they really are and respond with rightness. The Zen tale tells of a man who searched everywhere for perfect peace. He visited silent monasteries, deserted beaches, remote mountains, but everywhere he found something that disturbed his quiet: the song of a bird, the noise of wind, the buzzing of his own thoughts. A sage then told him, "You seek peace in the suppression of noise, but true peace is like the center of a cyclone, perfectly still in the heart of the most intense movement." This parable reveals the nature of authentic balance, not the absence of movement or contrast, but the presence of a stable center that allows us to dance with all the movements of existence. This center is not found in a geographical place or particular emotional state, but in our capacity to maintain our balance whatever the circumstances. This discovery transforms our understanding of happiness and personal fulfillment. Instead of pursuing particular emotional states or specific life conditions, we learn to cultivate this quality of being that allows us to be fully present and engaged in each moment, whether easy or difficult, joyful or painful. This balanced presence progressively reveals that each moment, even the most ordinary, contains unsuspected richness when we approach it with our unified being. Washing dishes becomes a moving meditation when we bring to it the balance of our total attention and our letting go. Listening to a friend becomes a sacred act when we combine our receptive availability and our active presence. At the end of this exploration, we discover that inner balance was not a destination to reach, but a capacity to develop. This capacity transforms every aspect of our existence. Our relationships become more authentic, our work more creative, our relationship with difficulties more serene, our joy deeper. Even more, this harmony of opposites reveals its most liberating dimension. It teaches us that we do not have to choose between our different facets, to sacrifice one part of ourselves to develop another. We can be simultaneously strong and tender, determined and flexible, engaged and detached, passionate and serene. This reconciliation with our human complexity frees us from the exhausting fatigue of those who must constantly play partial characters according to circumstances. It allows us to be whole in each situation, to bring all our resources to the service of what asks to be born. In this harmonious integration of all our aspects is perhaps revealed the deepest secret of the art of living. The capacity to dance with life in its totality, to welcome all its movements as so many invitations to deepen our balance and expand our compassion. This dance transforms ordinary existence into a subtle work of art, where each gesture, each choice, each breath contributes to the harmony of a whole vaster than we had ever imagined.